Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your hosts. I'm CJ.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Occams.
And this is episode 406. We have a bit of a turncated staff today. Dan's computer decided to die on him last night, so he will not be joining us. And I believe Chris is currently stalking Boris Johnson like he's the Terminator trying to find Sarah Connor. So good luck to him. That's okay. The show must go on even if there isn't all that much to talk about. It's been something of a quiet week here, nothing big happening with games. But before we get into anything, Charlotte, how are you dealing with the heat wave there in Europe?
I mean, Germany's been getting pretty hot during the summers. Well, in northern Germany's been getting pretty hot. Like southern Germany's always hot. Yeah. But northern Germany has been getting hotter during the summers for the past couple of years. So I'd say I'm not too bothered by it, but everybody back home in England they've had one hot day and they've all been complaining from what I've heard. So, I mean, actually, though, it is kind of terrifying to read that some places are hitting 45 degrees because that's the point when, 30 degrees is kind of the point where people start dying, but 45 is just hellscape terrible. I can't imagine.
And that's always a problem with me with Celsius is that I don't really know how hot is hot. Like I know that 0 is freezing, but I'm just thinking when I hear it's 30, I'm like, oh, okay. Is that something that's big? Is that really hot? And I didn't realize how hot it was until I saw this CNN headline that says, quote, "It is so hot in Spain that manure self-ignited, sparking a 10,000 acre wildfire."
God
wow.
Damn, I didn't know manure could do that.
That is one stinky wildfire.
As a Californian, we know something about wildfires because they're a national or a state pastime for us. I don't think I've ever seen one that was started by a big pile of shit, though. Like that's
It's like something Chuck Palahniuk would write about.
That would be a twist ending to a Paul Thomas Anderson film. Just raining frogs, manure fire, just right there. Apparently it's so hot in Europe, shit is catching fire. But we do have a good show for you today. We're going to talk some Mario Maker, talk about some summer games done quick. But first, I want to start off today's show with another installment of Crap Criminals. You've been hit by crap. So for this story, we're actually going to go back to Spain for a case of some serious relationship woes. According to the El País newspaper, I don't even know if I said that right, a 52-year-old woman believes she was scammed by her ex-boyfriend for 60,000 euros. The woman's 20-year-old daughter was told about the scam, and she decided to blab about it to a friend of hers who might also be the son-in-law of the 52-year-old woman. It wasn't really quite clear from the 4 or 5 different papers I read this in. So anyway, this woman's pissed. She's upset. She was scammed she said she was scammed for about 60,000 euros. And so her daughter goes to this guy, and this guy claims to be a member of Spain's Secret Service and offers to kill the man and sell his organs as a way to recoup the money if they would pay him 7,000 euros. It turns out the woman and her daughter are both suckers because they were scammed again. The guy was not a member of the Secret Service. He did not carry out the murder, thank goodness. And so they're now out about 67,000 euros. What do you do if you've been scammed by 2 different people for 67,000 euros? These 2 people, the woman and her daughter, decided to go to the police about it. This all happened this week. The woman and her daughter went to the police to file 2 complaints. The first was against the ex-boyfriend. The second was against the guy who they hired to kill the ex-boyfriend. Obviously, the woman and her daughter were both arrested for incitement to commit murder. The fake assassin was tracked down, was also arrested for incitement to commit murder. The victim, he's perfectly fine. He's in perfectly good health. How fucking dumb do you have to be to go to the cops when your murder for hire plot fell through?
You hear stories about this. They're mostly kind of centered around Florida. So it's nice to see that kind of level of dumb is international, you know?
It reminds me of a story not a few years ago, like a decade ago, of a guy calling the police because his weed dealer robbed him. It's like, or no, his weed customer robbed him. So you're selling weed, which at this time is a felony, and this guy robbed you. You're still going to jail. I mean, you kind of just got to take the loss at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I mean, 60,000 euros is a pretty, I would not have that amount to be scammed out of. That must be pretty painful, but still, it's so stupid.
Like, how was going to the police not option number one? I mean, clearly it was in their mind to at least go to the police at some point. It probably shouldn't be at the point after you tried to hire a hitman to kill him.
It just, I don't. Do these people not watch The Wire? There's street justice. I mean, come on.
Come on. If The Wire wasn't popular in America, I doubt they have it over in Spain.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, just that little bit of stupidity to start us off with the show. That was Crap Criminals. You've been hit by crap. All right, let's go ahead and get talking about games, and I'm going to go ahead and start us off. This past week, I have been playing a few titles. I'm still on the Harry Potter Wizards Unite kick. And then the day after it released, we were finally sent the review code for Super Mario Maker 2. So really anything, I can say anything on that one. I haven't put a lot of time into the course builder, although I've put enough to say that I really miss having a stylus that you had with the Wii U, because it was just so much easier and more fluidly built levels using a stylus than with my finger. I think I'm going to have to buy one and then, research which one's not going to scratch my Switch screen, et cetera, et cetera. But most of the time I've been spending in the story mode. And the story mode is you're going through and you're rebuilding Princess Peach's castle. You have to collect coins by doing these jobs, and these jobs are basically just levels that Nintendo employees have designed for you to beat. Any coins you get, you collect in the level, you can use to put towards rebuilding her castle. It's a easy little setup. There's a nice little humor in it. And what I love about this mode is that, generally when Nintendo makes a Mario game, they kind of keep everything making sense. If you have a trampoline, that trampoline is almost always going to go in the ground for you to bounce off to go high. If you have a missile dock, it's going to shoot a bullet bill. It's not going to shoot anything else. And what I love about Mario Maker is that it feels like it gives Nintendo level designers a chance to just go completely off the rails. I mean, they're not designing courses that are impossible to beat, like some of the ones that people who buy it will do. But it's just seeing them use these tools that they've been using for decades in new and imaginative ways. That, to me, I wish that Nintendo would put more of that into their regular Mario games. I don't think they're ever going to release a 2D Mario game again, because why would you when you have Mario Maker? But just the level of creativity that you get out of these titles that you don't really see in other 2D Mario games is just what makes going through this story mode so entertaining for me. Because, not only will it introduce people to ideas that they may not have thought of for a specific item in the game, if they didn't play Mario Maker that put all of those ideas in your head in the first place. It really does feel like it's kind of a victory lap for the people who have spent their years designing these great Mario levels that have always been built around restrictions, to have those restrictions removed. So I've seen some very, very clever level designs in this mode, and I'm about halfway through it. I want to see how far they take it and how far it goes, because how creative those are only going to lead to even more creative levels from people who buy this game. If they see the creativity, if they get the ideas that these Nintendo employees have come up with, they're going to apply those ideas to their levels and just create just some magnificent pieces of art. So I really can't wait to dive into to see the levels that everyone else has made. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of shit because there wasn't the last one. But so far, I think Nintendo is setting, with the levels it's created, a really good example and template on how you should proceed.
It's interesting, these Mario Maker, and you were talking about it, made me think of that Dreams, the I guess demo right now.
Yeah,
I bought that early access. Yeah, and just to see kind of what it was like. It's amazing, and to see these games that are essentially, I call them games, but I guess they're toolkits that people create games. But it's awesome. And I love seeing what people are coming up with. And you mentioned that they're not going to make another 2D Mario, and that you're right. That kind of bums me.
They might not.
Well, yeah. Their chances are. We'll check the Magic 8 Ball. Doesn't look good. I would love to see another 2D Mario, just with all the bells and whistles they could do now, but like a Mario 3. Just with sort of how that game looked back in the day, but what it would be like, I don't know. We're entering pipe dream territory here, but it'd be kind of neat.
All right, so that's what I've been playing. Occams, you're gearing up for Shadowbringers, are you not?
I am. So, despite my absolute all-encompassing enthusiasm for Shadowbringers and the fact that I pre-ordered for early access, I still have yet to play it. And I apologize to our audience for that, because I'm ready to have a lot of great thoughts about it. Everything I've read says it's amazing. I loved what Chris Carter was saying. It made me really excited. I've just been very busy in the waking world, and I get done at night, and the last thing I want to do is start an engrossing story RPG because I'm very tired. So I sit on the iPad and I play this dumb Star Wars game, and I watch dumb YouTube videos until I pass out on the couch because I'm apparently an old man already. But I finished the main story that connects the current content to Shadowbringers, and which was awesome. And I'd have said this before, I'm going to say it again. Final Fantasy XIV as a main story entry for the Final Fantasy series, easily top 3 for me. Just so good, so well done. And I'm really excited to try it out. My only complaint so far, having not played it yet, is that the Gunblade class is a tank. And I am a coward DPS and like just to sit in the back and do damage, but not have that much responsibility. So I wish it was another DPS class, but that's okay. Apparently tanking and healing in 14 is a lot easier than in some other games. So you don't quite have so much pressure on you. But I wouldn't know. I'm just, again, coward DPS. So.
Coward DPS describes every teammate I had in Overwatch this week. Just the fucking worst. So for Final Fantasy XIV, from what I understand, Shadowbringers is the end of the storyline that was started with A Realm Reborn. Do you know anything about that?
I do. Yeah. I can't speak to it as much maybe as some other people, but yeah, essentially when Realm Reborn came about, they literally restarted the realm, hence the reborn part. And there's this sort of overarching kind of villain, or villains rather, these sort of ancient immortal race of things. There's always like in every good Japanese RPG, it's like I'm the bad guy, but wait, there's a guy in the shadows, and he's of course immortal, an ancient thing, and looks like a 12-year-old boy. That's usually how it goes. And so if that's the end of that, that's interesting. That puts some things into context. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out, and certainly where they go next with the story. But it's I can't recommend it enough. I know people are hesitant about the idea of paying per month to play it, but I think you can play for free for the main story, or the main initial game, and then I think the Heavensward DLC. I think you can play that up to level 35 or 50, and that gives you a really good kind of taste of what the game is like aesthetically and how the mechanics work and all. It's one of the few games I am happy to pay a monthly fee for, and I don't continue. I'll play it probably till September or October, and then I'll beat everything. And then I'll stop playing for probably a year or two. It's what I do with all the expansions. Then when they get new content added in story wise, I go back and play it. So
I guess I'll find out next month because I pre-ordered the the quote complete collection of it so far. So
Hey, nice.
yeah, so
Nice one.
that comes out on July 2nd, but I won't be able to do it until I finish these damn Mario Maker and Dragon Quest Builder reviews.
Sure. May I tell you that the main story from where you're going to start to like Shadowbringers, I mean, you're looking at easily 100 hours.
Oh, fuck.
No, and I know I don't say that in a way to go, oh, you're ready. It's a lot of fun. There is filler. There's always filler.
Yeah.
But man, the fucking story is you really get into the characters and it's fun. And if push comes to shove, you can buy tokens. I don't recommend it to just finish the story. I think that's the worst thing you could do to yourself.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound like something I would do.
Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, no, I look forward to that so that we can continue talking about Final Fantasy XIV into September.
Nice.
Charlotte, let's go ahead and wrap up with you. You are still doing the Ace Attorneys, right?
Yep, I've just started with Ace Attorney Investigations, which is the DS game that came out around about 2009 in the West, and it's not got any courtroom stuff at all. I thought it would have less because it's from the perspective of Miles Edgeworth, the prosecutor, but it doesn't have any. It's entirely like a point-and-click detective game. And actually, I don't miss the courtroom stuff as much as I thought it would. It's still pretty interesting, and it's got a few little extra mechanics, like because it's now more of a point-and-click, there's a function where you kind of have to link things that you've found out together to sort of bring clues together to solve mysteries. And it's a lot of fun so far. I'm tearing through it really fast though. I saw an estimate of I think about 20 hours, and that cannot be right because I'm flying through it without all the courtroom stuff. But yeah, it's different. It's definitely different, and it's quite hard to get hold of nowadays. In fact, I found a copy that was pretty cheap, and the cartridge was from Hong Kong. So I am still not 100% sure it's not a bootleg. And in fact, my copy started really malfunctioning today when there was just an animation of Miles Edgeworth speaking and nothing was happening. So I'm still not 100% sure whether it's a legit copy, but it looks like a legit copy.
That definitely sounds like a bootleg.
Yeah.
It's like going on eBay and those like dollar copies of Earthbound. You're like,
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was still like cost me about €20. It wasn't super cheap, but getting like the full copy is pretty difficult nowadays. But yeah, as long as it works and I can get to the end, I don't really care. But I'm having fun with it.
Good.
Yeah. But I think after that, I don't really think I'm going to go back and play 1, 2, and 3 again. I've decided not to do that. I'm just going to move on to doing all the Professor Layton games, I think. And then Chrono Trigger, probably. I've got that DS
Trigger.
copy of that.
I still have my DS copy of that, and I think I got up to after the first boss, and then something distracted me, so I haven't gone back since. That's the story of my gaming life. Something distracted me, and I didn't finish the game. But no, I did enjoy Miles Ace Attorney Investigations, and I was really disappointed when they never localized the sequel. So I know there's a fan translation of it out there. I just don't know if I have the energy, time, or care to go and download it.
Yeah, it seems pretty. If you wanted to play it on actual hardware, it'd be pretty much a pain in the ass to get it to work, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'll bother.
Well, I hope you enjoy the Professor Layton games because those are some of my favorites.
Yep. I mean, I finished Miracle Mask this week as well, and that was brilliant. I was almost crying at the end. So, yeah, I'm just going to try the other ones now that I missed, because I played the first one way back, and I think also the second one, but I think everything in the middle I just completely missed. So I'm going to go back and try them.
Nice. I bought the first 3. I remember buying the first game at a Kmart of all places. But I bought them, and then I sold them. Then I missed them, so I bought them all again, and now I have them in storage and shrink wrap. Like I haven't even bothered playing them yet, but I was just like, oh, my precious, my children, my sweetums. Yeah.
You know, it was the Sweetums that really did it. You know.
You are are listening to Podtoid.
That is it for games, but we still have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. There is not a lot going on this week unless you were playing drinking games, watching the Democratic debates. But we're going to go ahead and start off with some good news. As you may or may not know, Summer Games Done Quick happened this past week in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The charity for this year's event was Doctors Without Borders, which is a great cause. And the final tally from the show was a record-setting $3 million raised for the organization, absolutely crushing last year's total of $2.1 million. I unfortunately did not get a chance to watch any of this year's Summer Games Done Quick. I had a lot of training at my new job to do this week, so that's where my attention was. Usually I try and catch it if there's a game I particularly like to see people speedrun, something like Earthbound or any of the Legend of Zelda games. That will hook me in. But Charlotte, I know you are a speedrunner. Did you catch any of this year's show?
I would not describe myself as a speedrunner, but I didn't watch any of it live, but I started watching some of the videos have started coming up on YouTube already. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching quite a few of those this weekend. The TaskBot playthrough of Mario Kart Wii was pretty interesting. What else have I watched so far? Quite a few things. Oh yeah, Resident Evil 2 remake's always fun to watch.
Oh, that would be a great speedrun to watch.
Yeah, and it was also pretty interesting because I've seen quite a few Leon playthroughs, but apparently this was a Claire playthrough and a Claire A, and apparently that's just full of random stuff, and a lot of the zombie placement is completely random. So we were watching Bok Basoup, I think it was running it. He kept getting grabs, and we were like, "What's he doing? Is he having a bad time?" And I think we realized no, that's just the random nature of a Claire A run, is that you don't really know where some of the zombies are. So when you're trying to do it quick, you might just get grabbed. And the great thing about Resident Evil runs is that it's obviously the thing that if you go into caution or danger, it slows you down. So there is really like every single bit of damage counts against you. Mm-hmm. So that was a whole load of fun to watch, and he did super well. So
I imagine a speed run of a Resident Evil game is entirely on the flight or fight response is entirely flight. You're just running from everything as fast as you can.
Trying to think what seemed to go into making a Resident Evil 2 remake run good. And I think a lot of it was just knowing how big the hitboxes are so that you can, like you say, you can dodge successfully. Mm-hmm. And obviously with Leon, which is less random, is just trying to avoid as much as you can. And in a perverse way, Mr. X is actually one of the least scary things, I think, from what I've gathered in a Resident Evil 2 remake run, because at least you know roughly where he's going to be. He's predictable at least, whereas some of the other things, unfortunately, aren't. There's a very funny moment though in that run where he was showing, like, there's a section in Resident Evil 2, spoilers, where the police chief is you're playing as Sherry and the police chief is trying to find you. Bok Basoup just showed us how the AI for the police chief is completely broken, and he was just like Sherry was just like stood out in the open, and like the police chief was trying to find her with like a flashlight, and he just didn't pick her up at all. She was just stood there and he didn't find her. So that was very fun to watch.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I find the TaskBot thing absolutely crazy, that because I'm not a programmer, the fact that people can program scripts to play games is fascinating to me. And also randomizers as well. There was a randomizer that we were watching and we just could not figure out what was going on, because it seemed to be A Link to the Past and Super Metroid, I think, and it was a randomizer of both. So when you transitioned from one part to another, it would switch games, I think. It was really weird. Lots of weird stuff going on.
That's one I'm going to have to watch.
Speedruns give me the worst anxiety. I hate timed things in games. Like if there's like, you have 10 seconds to hit the button or whatever. I hate it. The idea of speedrunning, it makes my stomach hurt. It really does. I can respect it because there's a lot of like, crazy muscle memory or like knowing how to glitch out this corner to fly across just the idea of it. Makes me want to smoke again.
Oh. All right. Our second story of this week has to do with your favorite Occam's Final Fantasy XIV. It was announced this week that Square Enix and Sony are teaming up with Hivemind Entertainment to make a live-action series based off the hit MMO. The show will feature a new narrative and focus on the struggle between magic and technology in a world full of conflict. Hivemind Entertainment is currently producing the Witcher television series as well as The Expanse. In a press release, Square Enix said the show will feature staples of the Final Fantasy series, including chocobos, airships, Magitech, and the live-action debut of Cid. My first thought on this when I read the press release was that this is going to be a fucking expensive show. But in a post-Game of Thrones world, this is the amount of money that people are going to spend on trying to make the next Game of Thrones. You have Amazon spending $100 million making a Lord of the Rings prequel series. So this, I don't know what this is going to cost, if it's going to be anywhere near that, but fucking airships, that's not going to be cheap to animate.
Yeah, are any of the Magitech elements, because it's all just this really like very baroque, fine looking mech stuff. It's all very like, there's so much, the level of detail and design, it's almost all overly designed. And I don't like, why don't they do the Witcher show first, see if that's a hit? Because I know it won't cost as much, but you still got to like have Geralt have like, flame hands or whatever and throw a bunch of like big tittied mermaid witches in there or something. I mean, I like the idea behind it. I have very little faith in it right now, only because, again, it's kind of what you said. If they're going to put $100 million to a Lord of the Rings prequel that no one really asked for, you would need something similar to make this not look cheesy as shit. Because otherwise, if people see how bad like the airship looks or the magic and all, it's gonna, I don't know. We'll see. I'm hopeful, but you need a really big budget to make that not look like a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. And I mean, the worst case scenario, it comes off looking like the Warcraft movie, which did not do that franchise any favors.
That's very true. Yeah.
My thoughts with this series, first of all, it's kind of just like in the pre-planning stages right now. So I don't think we should be anticipating it anytime soon. And The Witcher will debut long before this probably even starts shooting, because I think that comes out this November. Okay. So we'll be able to get a good idea of how successful a video game show can be on a streaming service. And given how much Netflix loves to cancel its programming, who knows how long that's going to last if it's not super popular. But
DC's giving them a run for their money, though.
Yeah, that's true. I just, I would like to see it just because I need the filth and disgust of Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within to completely be washed away.
Did you see that in the theater at all?
Thank God, no, I did not. But I saw it on one of those old school rear projection television sets that you have to look on dead on, otherwise the color starts distorting if you go even 1 degree off of a perfect angle from a 90-degree angle from it. So it was not the best looking movie that I saw, because it was just the shittiest television in the world.
Yeah, my friends and I saw that opening night when it came out. Yeah, because we were like, it's a Final Fantasy movie. Like, hell yeah, we're gonna be there immediately. It would be like if we all had just been given a puppy, and like, this is a puppy, we love this, it's so sweet, we pet it, and then 5 minutes later, someone took the puppy and pulled its head off in front of us. That was our reaction walking out of the theater. We were so like, we were like, well, wait, what about it was Final Fantasy? And like, they were like, well, there was a Cid I forget now, but there were like a couple elements, but we were like, the fuck was that? It was so bad. What a weird movie. Oh man.
What a waste of money. And remember, that was the movie that nearly killed Square.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they became Square Enix, because of that, because of the fallout from that movie. Finally, shooter fans in Germany will be able to choose from 2 different versions of the upcoming Wolfenstein Youngblood and Wolfenstein Cyberpilot when it launches next month, and I think later this year for Cyberpilot. I don't know. I didn't write down when it launches. As you probably know, Germany has a difficult history with Nazi imagery for some reason, and there have been blanket bans on the symbols of the Third Reich for decades. Recently, the country's USK rating board system changed its policy and is now judging Nazi symbols in the context in which they're being used. As Wolfenstein is clearly a fuck Nazis type of game, there will be a version of Youngblood and Cyberpilot that will be uncensored. It will also be unlocalized. According to Bethesda, it seems the decision to allow an uncensored version of the game for sale in the country came too late in terms of development. So the company will be selling the international version along with the standard censored German version. The international version will feature English as a spoken dialogue. Charlotte, you live in Germany. Do a lot of Germans have an understanding of the English language?
Yeah. I think most people who play, I'd say most people who play games will have a fairly good command of English, I would guess. It depends how close. I think if you live more in the countryside, then there's a higher chance that you might not be exposed. For example, you might not speak English in your workplace as much, and it's an age thing as well. But I think getting the international version a lot of people will just go for that version. And in general, I remember when the new Colossus came out, and I was seeing advertisements for it everywhere, but it was like it's not the same game. All of the imagery has been changed, and even Hitler is not Hitler. So it was really bizarre that there was huge advertising campaigns, even though everybody was in agreement that most people in Germany were in agreement that it was a watered down game. And what makes this really frustrating is there might have been a blanket ban on the censorship board side, but actually on the legal side, there's a ban on unconstitutional imagery, as long as it can't be justified in an artistic or any other context. So, for example, there is a film and a book called I forget the name, something like He's Back, and it's basically a story about Hitler waking up from being frozen, and he wants to make some sort of, is it a stand-up career or something? But like in other media that's not as touchy as video games. And Germany's always had this really weird history with video games where heavy censorship, and if something's on a list of banned games, then, like I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what the rules are. I looked at this a few weeks ago for some reason, but like literally things being sold under the counter, and games being banned on import. And there was a list of games that had been affected by this in some way or another. And I was seeing games like Borderlands on the list, and I things have got a lot better since I've been living in Germany. I think a lot of this predates me moving here, but they've always had a very touchy relationship with like being very sensitive about video games specifically. And not too dissimilar from, I think I've heard countries like Australia and New Zealand can be bizarrely strict about violence in video games. So
they're more sex than violence.
Okay. Yeah, but I think to be honest, when they've released the international version, I imagine that the vast majority of sales will be the international version. I don't think language will be an issue.
So just help me out real quick. Yeah. The swastika has been replaced by what? Like a thumbs down? What's it?
They literally took Hitler's mustache off him.
Is that how they it's not Hitler anymore because the mustache isn't there?
Yeah.
That's great. It'd be better. I would have loved to have seen if it was still Hitler still had the mustache, but he was in blackface, and that was but he's not Hitler anymore. It's
he's Michael Jordan.
Oh boy.
Yeah. We all remember that mustache phase.
I think that's when everyone, the people who knew he was evil already were pointing out nah, he's not a good guy.
Speaking of Wolfenstein for a second, can I ask what the fuck is the point of retail copies of games that come with a digital download code? Because now I just have this empty box. Because I was going to pre-order the Switch version of Youngblood's Deluxe Edition that comes with the Legacy Pack. But then there's that giant ass banner at the top of the Switch box that says download, that says no card, no game card included, download code. I'm thinking, this is just now garbage then at this point, right? Because I'm not going to store my game in here like my other retail physical copies. This is now just the equivalent of that cardboard wrapper that goes around some of the DVDs to make them stand out on shelves, except it's the entire case. Because why would I keep this? Are people so enamored with having a physical edition on their shelf that they're going to buy something that has nothing in it?
Yes.
I guess it's a dumb question because I could probably sell my box for my Majora's Mask and new Nintendo 3DS XL on eBay for about $50. Just the box, not even the game. So,
oh yeah, I mean, you go look at like the Super Nintendo stuff on eBay, and you can sell a box for, so depending on what it is, but you can sell boxes for $25-$30 depending. I don't get it. I mean, I've started, was going through a DVD collection, and I've started just putting the DVD discs in a giant binder. Yeah. It's just shit on my shelf. And I don't watch the DVDs that much anyway with streaming, but one day that stuff's not going to be streaming anymore. I'm kind of acting like the end of the world guy here, but it's I'm like, well, I'm like the Office is going to NBC streaming. So when I go to a thrift store and I see a season of The Office, I just buy it because I don't know if I'm going to buy or stream NBC's thing, and I don't have to have 15 different streaming services. Guys, let me talk about digital media for a minute. Let me tell you that. But it's you don't need the box necessarily.
I just spent $35 buying the entirety of Futurama for download. iTunes was having a great sale on it. I'm thinking, you know what? I don't know where this is going to be streaming in a year and a half from now. I might as well just have this all on my computer. Yeah. So I get that idea, and I kind of regret selling all my seasons of DVDs because I collected a lot of TV show DVDs over the years. And then as soon as streaming came out, I'm like, oh, well, this is going to be perfect. They're just all going to be put on Netflix. They're never going to go anywhere else because it's only going to be Netflix. Oh,
absolutely.
Oh, how dumb I was.
Yeah. I've a little pro tip for anyone out there. If you frequent a Goodwill or a Salvation Army, check out the DVD section sometime. And there may be a TV show you'll go, oh, I love that show. I haven't seen it in a long time or see it streaming anywhere. Buy it because the DVDs are like $3 for a full fucking TV season. I just did that with I found some X-Files seasons on DVD. Pick those up because I don't know where the hell those are going to stream or if they are streaming anywhere.
So my local Kmart, which is the only giant store that's near me in this godforsaken tiny town.
God damn, that is small town right there.
Not even a Walmart. No. A Kmart. So
Super Kmart?
No, just a Kmart.
Wow.
A Kmart with a Little Caesars inside, just to give you an idea of the area.
That's perfect.
So their, quote, electronics section is basically just a row of DVDs. Like they don't even sell televisions or anything here. And I don't know why they're still selling it. And maybe this is the only Kmart in America you can buy it at. But boy, God, do they have a lot of Bill Cosby DVDs here. Cosby Show, Cosby comedy specials. Just they're like an entire rack is just nothing but Bill Cosby. I'm thinking, why? Why is that? Why are they still trying to sell this? How long have they been trying to sell this? And are people here buying this shit up and then they have to restock? All these questions I would like to know on why my Kmart is selling Bill Cosby DVDs.
Somebody on the staff there is trying to make a point.
You are listening to Podtoid.
Oh, all right. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. We're just about out of time for our show. But Occams, before we go, you have a community shout out?
Yeah, I want to give a community shout out. Actually, this goes back to Mario Maker 2. Riffraff, user Riffraff, fun guy, did a quick post asking people to post their friend codes, level codes for Mario Maker 2, and looks like it's got a fairly good number of them up there. So if you're ever looking for some Podtoid created, community created content for Mario Maker 2, check out that quick post. So thank you for doing that, Riffraff. We appreciate it.
I will definitely be checking that out myself just as soon as I finish up the review for it. That is it for our show. As a scheduling note, we will not have a new episode next week. I will be at TennoCon, but after that, there should be no more breaks on Podtoid for the foreseeable future. So on behalf of Charlotte Occams and myself, thank you for listening to Podtoid, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and now Podbean.
Uh-oh. Golf clap.
I don't even know what that is.
It's Podbean.